I am going to try and whiz through this session as expeditiously as possible because I can talk. I can talk really well. I was always on my report card at school, talk and bossy. And so now I get paid to talk to people and tell them what to do. So it kind of comes full circle. But I'm going to get through this. I am going to answer the 10 most Googled questions about tennis elbow, and then I'm going to answer all of your questions as well. So I hope you can pop them in the Q&A. If that's not available, I hope you can put them in the chat as well. I hope that's working. So here we go. I'm going to start working the way through the slides. All right. So I'd love to welcome you to this session. And, I really appreciate you joining me today. I know that your time is precious, and I really want to make sure that you can get a lot out of this. I want this to be really helpful for you, which is why I do want it to be interactive. I want to answer your questions. So whatever questions you have, please pop them into the Q&A. Please pop them into the chat if you can't access the Q&A. But I want you to have answers by the end of this session. I want you to know, kind of what is going on with your tennis elbow, what could potentially be slowing down the healing or even stopping the healing. There are things that are not necessarily like the usual things. If you ask ChatGPT or if you ask Gemini or Google or whatever it is, you might not find some of these things. So I really want to be answering those questions as much as possible for you as we move through this session. Stay to the end for your special bonus. I know I have sort of hinted at this special bonus. I'm going to share with you a really simple tip that decreases inflammation. And I'm going to share that right at the end. So for everybody who stays to the end, you're going to get that simple tip, but that is when I am going to share it with you. So let me know in the comments. So in the chat, let me know in the chat, why did you decide to join me here today? And I'm going to give you some examples. So number one, if you're tired of tennis elbow recurring time after time, if it keeps coming back, if it feels like you're on a bit of a swing, like you feel it and then it's better, and you feel it and then it's better. If it's doing that and you're looking for ways to resolve it once and for all, you're a number one. Or did you try everything? Have you tried all kinds of different treatment? Maybe you've been to treatment, maybe you've spoken to doctors, maybe you've found the exercises on YouTube, whatever it is, but it's still hurting. And you're kind of like, what is missing? There's got to be something that I'm not doing. If that's you, you're a number two. Or maybe you are doing great and you just can't get back on court or on the course. Maybe, it's stopping you from doing the things that you want to do. If so, you're a number three. So let me know in the chat. Are you a number one, tired of tennis elbow coming back? Are you a number two, frustrated that, whatever treatment you try doesn't work for you? Or are you number three, just desperate to get back playing or doing the activities that you want to do? So let me know in the chat. Sometimes people can be a combination and they might even be all three. So if you're kind of like, well, I'm a bit of everything, Emma, then it's 1, 2, 3. That is completely fine. But no matter what your reason for being here, I am here to support you. And so a little bit about me. So I trained as a physiotherapist in England. So a physiotherapist is basically a physical therapist. It's just a different name. And for the first third of my career, I worked with professional sports teams and I've traveled all around the world. And here I am with Doc. We were at the World University Games with the Great Britain soccer team, and that was in Beijing in China. And it was definitely a fun time. Then I had a couple of kids, moved to the US, became a physical therapist. That slowed down the travel. Well, not the physical therapist bit, the kids bit. And I started working in just a regular outpatient clinic at the local hospital, where I was asked to see a professional drummer who'd had tennis elbow for 18 months. Nothing had worked. He'd tried everything. If you've read my books, you probably have heard about Buddy. If you follow me on social media, you've probably heard about Buddy. So Buddy is a professional drummer, and we met each other in 2009 now. That was when we first met. And I developed this new treatment that hadn't been done before for him. Got him back to playing the drums, and he is actually currently on a world tour. It's just like, it's so amazing. If you do follow my socials, You probably have seen some of the reels and stories of his that I've been sharing. He's in the middle of a world tour, and it's just phenomenal to see him doing this now. After so long. And I mean, I think they played like 100 shows like the end of last year, from summer to Christmas. They played 100 shows, and he is just fine. It's so, so good to see. So, check him out. About 7 years ago now, I started dabbling in telehealth because before that I was purely in the clinic, and I would see people in clinic, and then more and more people further and further away geographically were starting to reach out. I've been 100% virtual since lockdown. So that really shifted me from my clinic just to being virtual. So I now see all of my clients virtually. I work with Stanford University on their Empowered Relief program, which I incorporated into my program. And I'll talk a little bit about that and why that is important as well. And I am a certified high performance coach. So I do work with high performers specifically on their health goals. But specializing in tennis elbow has really allowed me to dive deeply into this one diagnosis, which I absolutely love. I love working with tennis elbow clients, and it's a little unusual because most physical therapists don't. And the reason for that is they generally are going to see, maybe 1 or 2 tennis elbow patients in a year. They're going to see lots of backs, lots of necks, lots of knees, lots of shoulders, lots of ankles, things like that. And you get really good at seeing, you get really good at treating what you see lots of. So they see lots of these things, you get really good at treating them, and it feels really good. And then you get an elbow that you're not really used to treating. They're like, what are we going to do with this elbow? So for me when I worked in at the hospital, like 100% of my caseload was tennis elbow. So I got really good at working with this one specific pathology, this one specific diagnosis, this one specific patient caseload. And I love working with these patients. And it allowed me to dive really deeply into the research to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And so it is my mission to save 100,000 elbows from unnecessary injections and surgery. If you've drifted away, come back to me right now. Injections and surgery are unnecessary in almost 100% of cases. I think in the over 4,000 now, patients and clients that I've worked with, I think surgery-wise, I think I've said to 2 or 3, yes, you need surgery. Like literally that's it. The tiniest proportion. So question number 1. This is, I think, the most Googled question about tennis elbow. What is tennis elbow? And I am going to put a timer on myself to answer this really fast, because otherwise I'll waffle on. So I'm going to answer this in a minute, and then we'll move on to the next one. So tennis elbow is a degeneration of the tendon. A tendon is a connective tissue. A tendon attaches muscle to bone. So tendon is just a connective tissue. The tendon that is affected in tennis elbow is only about 1 centimeter long, quite short. It attaches right onto that bony point of the elbow on the outside. You know exactly where that is because you feel it. So if you feel that bony point and you come slightly forwards towards your forearm, you are right on the tendon there. It's very small. That's what happens in tennis elbow. It is a degeneration of that tendon. What that means is, if we were to do an ultrasound scan or an MRI scan, any kind of imaging on that tendon, a normal tendon looks like a rope. If you get hold of a rope and you twist it the wrong way so it comes apart, that's what a degenerated tendon looks like. That's what tennis elbow looks like on imaging. And during treatment, we want to reverse that degeneration. So we tighten it back up again so it looks like that rope. All of these different phrases on the slide that you can see there have been used to describe tennis elbow, but that's in a nutshell what it is. So what are the main symptoms? You're going to get pain around that outside part of your elbow, around that bony point. It might also go a little higher up your arm at the back, and it might come down into your forearm. That is still classified as tennis elbow. So basically, if you were to put your hand over the sort of the bony part where it really hurts, kind of anywhere under your hand, if your fingers are wrapped around the back, anywhere under your hand, that's still classified as tennis elbow. You're going to get weakness, like grip strength weakness, because of pain. This is pain inhibition. So when you have pain, the brain subconsciously switches those muscles off to prevent further injury to that tissue. So the brain knows there's a damaged tendon. I'm going to switch the muscles off that are attached to that tendon so that I don't damage that tendon any further. That's why you get weakness, because of pain inhibition. And therefore you get loss of function. I now can't hit the ball, or I can't pick up my cup of coffee. So I want to know, how long have you suffered? And I'm going to try and be a bit fancy here, because I'm going to see if I can do a poll. All right. So I want to know, how long have you had tennis elbow? So you're going to answer me this question. So it's either less than 3 weeks, it's less than 3 months, or it's more than 3 months. So how long have you had tennis elbow? How long have you been suffering? So for most people who I see, most people are going to say more than 3 months. By the time they find me, generally it's more than 3 months. Some people might be less than 3 months. When I find somebody that's less than 3 months, I get really excited, because I'm like, oh, this is really easy. This is super simple to get rid of. Less than 3 weeks, I mean, that's just amazing. Every now and again, I'll get somebody reach out to me on social and be like, oh, I've had it for a week. What should I do? Oh, super simple. We can get rid of that really, really fast. So let me know, are you less than 3 weeks? Are you less than 3 months? Or are you more than 3 months? And the reason I ask these specific questions is treatment is different for each of those phases. If you've had it less than 3 weeks, we're going to treat you in a different way to if it's less than 3 months, but more than 3 weeks. And it's going to be different if it's now more than 3 months. So each of those different time scales need a different treatment. So thank you for participating there. So it looks like most people here are more than 3 months, which is pretty typical. So thank you for that. And I think, okay, I think you can see the results there. Feel a bit fancy, like, yeah, I was able to do this. Okay, let's move on. All right. So whatever your reason for being here, however long you've had it, I am here to support you. So the next question asked on Google is, how long does it take to recover? And I also almost feel like we need to explore what this question means. When you say recover, what do you mean? Do you mean pain-free? Because I've had clients who literally, I mean, I've had one client who literally, like, I gave him one exercise and he was pain-free, and that was it, done. So, I mean, I guess you could say a matter of seconds, which is very much at this end of the bell curve, or returning to activities. Is recovery returning to your activities? So if that is golf, maybe that's 6 weeks. If that is tennis, maybe that's 9 weeks. If it's pickleball, maybe that's sort of 6 to 7 weeks. This is sort of the time frame that I've seen people get back to those activities. Or do you mean fully healed? Do you mean if we did an ultrasound scan or an imaging of your tendon, that tendon would look healed? Because if you mean fully healed and you want to know how long it takes to fully heal that tendon, that is 12 to 24 months. Now, we used to think, back when I was working with Buddy, 16 years ago now, the medical community used to think, the medical research told us, that tendons healed in 12 weeks. That is incorrect. So as close as sort of 15 years ago, we had incorrect information about tendon healing. What we now know is that tendons are a very slow changing tissue, and they take 12 to 24 months to heal. Now, that doesn't mean to say you're going to be feeling pain for that length of time. You're not. You're going to be pain-free much sooner. It doesn't mean to say you can't get back to your activities until that length of time. You will. That will be much sooner. But you have to know the tendon doesn't heal until 12 to 24 months. So you can see why I have to really sort of differentiate what that question means. So I hope that helps. How do you fix tennis elbow? Well, amazing question. So to fix tennis elbow, to heal the tendon, you need eccentric loading. Now, when people have had tennis elbow for longer than 3 months, and the reason we split it out like this, is that if you've had symptoms for longer than 3 months, there's probably more going on than just the tendon. If it is just the tendon that needs resolving, eccentric healing will do that. Eccentric loading will do that. However, if you have had it for longer than 3 months, it is highly likely that your nerves are involved. And I say that because 95% of the patients and clients that I work with have a nerve component. It is very, very common. It's nothing to worry about. It's very common, but it needs addressing. Because if you don't address the nerve part, the tendon part can't heal. And that can often be what is stopping the tendon from healing. You're trying all these things, nothing's working, something's stopping it, something's blocking it. It is often the nerve. Now, there are different elements to the nerves. If we go back to the outside of the elbow where that tendon is, you probably know where your funny bone is. You know, if you bang your funny bone, you've got a nerve right there. So you can see how close the tendon and the nerve are. They're very close together. If you imagine that tendon degenerating, so getting hold of that rope, the fibers splaying apart, you can see as fibers splay apart, that is going to increase the size of the tendon, and it does. We often see a swelling and increase in size of the tendon due to that degeneration. Now, if that tendon increases in size, it's very likely it can start impinging on the structure next to it, which is the nerve. So that's how you can get nerve involvement. Very, very common that we see this in both tennis and golfer's elbow. They both need addressing because if the nerve is hypersensitized and irritated, it is not going to let that tendon heal. So it is crucial that we address both elements. The other thing that can then happen is we can get what's called central sensitization. This is when we get a hypersensitivity of the entire nervous system. And when I talk about the nervous system, I'm talking brain, spinal cord, all of the nerves that come out of the neck down to the tips of the fingers, all the nerves that come out of the back down to the tips of the toes. Central sensitization, it's relatively, I was going to say, it's relatively new in the research, probably like the last 10 years or so, and like 10 years. It's relatively recent in the research. But I started to notice that my clients had this central nervous system stuff going on. And so I started diving into brain pain science, chronic pain, and how I could help my clients there. And this is often the unlock, because if the nervous system is hypersensitized, that activates the sympathetic nervous system. It switches you into fight or flight. I'm sure you've heard of that concept. Fight or flight is a survival mechanism. It's a very primitive mechanism. It goes back tens of thousands of years to when do I need to run away from this animal or fight it off? That's what fight or flight was for. And what fight or flight does, it causes an increase in stress hormones, which are cortisol, adrenaline. We get this increase in inflammatory markers. We get this increase in inflammation, ready for us to run away or fight so that our body is primed for that. Well, none of us are running away from animals or fighting them off now, but being in pain, being in chronic pain, suffering pain for longer than 3 months, by definition, is chronic pain. Having chronic pain is stressful. Chronic pain can flip you into fight or flight. And being in fight or flight, the body is now focused on survival. It's not going to heal a little tendon issue. So we have to flip the nervous system out of fight or flight back into rest, digest, and heal. The parasympathetic nervous system we want to be activated. And then that is going to allow the body to heal itself. So if you're in fight or flight, if your nervous system is hypersensitized, it is going to be stopping you from healing. No matter what treatments you try, they're going to be ineffective because your body is in survival mode. We have to flip it out. And so that's where I started adding in the empowered relief class, because that does it beautifully. It teaches you all about brain pain science. It teaches about chronic pain, and it gives you 4 strategies that take you out of the sympathetic and into the parasympathetic, out of fight or flight, into rest, digest, and heal. And obviously that's where we want you to be so that you can heal your tendon. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, no wonder nothing worked. It's no wonder, whatever you've tried, whether it's injections, whether it's physical therapy, whether it's exercises, whether it's stretches, whether it's whatever, if it's not working like you thought it would, it's most likely you have this hypersensitivity of the nervous system. Empowered relief is a really good starting point for that. So again, it's a little bit of a funny question to answer because how do you fix tennis elbow? Eccentric loading, boop, that's it. But if you have all of this other stuff going on first, you've got to correct that first before the eccentric loading works. So I hope that answers that question. Can you get tennis elbow if you don't play tennis? Yes, absolutely you can. Many golfers I see actually have tennis elbow. I see people who like carpenters. I see a lot of carpenters. I see a lot of dentists. I see a lot of construction workers. I see a lot of desk workers, sitting at the computer. It can affect anybody. In fact, the research shows us that about 2 to 3% of the general population are going to suffer with tennis elbow at some point in their lifetime. That goes back to what I was saying earlier about the number of patients that a sort of a general physical therapist will see. They'll see 1 or 2 tennis elbows a year. That kind of fits. They're going to see backs, necks, knees, elbows, backs, necks, knees, shoulders, and ankles every single day, all day long. The research shows us that 80% of us will suffer with back pain at some point in our life, and it's 2 to 3% are going to have tennis elbow. So there's a big difference there. However, if you are a tennis player, then you are 50% likely to suffer from tennis elbow at some point in your playing career. So I see a ton of tennis players. I see racket sports. It's a lot of tennis, pickleball, paddle, badminton, squash, any of the racket sports obviously can be affected. So you don't have to play tennis to get tennis elbow. What are the best exercises for tennis elbow? Eccentric loading and stretches. Again, boop, that's it. Tie a bow in it. It's neatly there. They are the best exercises for tennis elbow, your eccentric loading and your stretching. However, if you are hypersensitized, you have to resolve that part first in order for these exercises to work correctly. If you don't, you can try these. They might make you feel worse, or they're just not going to work for you if your nervous system is hypersensitized. So it's super important that we get that piece done first. Do you need surgery for tennis elbow? No. As I said earlier, I think it's 2 or 3 that I said, yes, you need to go. It might be 2, actually. It might be 2 that I've said, yes, you need surgery. And literally, so their imaging showed their tendon was hanging on by a thread. And it was interesting because one of them, we did try to rehab, and it was so interesting because on the imaging that they had, so they had imaging which showed, like literally hanging on by a thread, but we'd already been doing some treatment, and it showed that tendon was really trying to heal itself. It was so interesting. The surgeon commented on the granulation tissue. That's basically new tissue that the tendon is trying to lay down. It's like, I've never seen this before. And it was because of the treatment that we were going through. The tendon was really trying to heal itself, but it was just hanging on by a thread. So that patient actually had a phenomenal recovery because they'd done so much. In this case, it was prehab work before they had that surgery to really anchor that tendon in. And then it was a very simple recovery process from there. But literally, it is 2 out of over 4,000. So if you are a simple tennis elbow, absolutely not. Don't even consider it. The other thing that I'll pop into this section as well is that 40% of people who have tennis elbow actually have radial tunnel syndrome. Radial tunnel syndrome affects a nerve. And so, and I'm convinced that these are the patients who fail surgery because they've tried everything. They've not met me. They've tried everything. Nothing's worked. They go for surgery. Doesn't work. Then they find me. So when I now then work with these people, it's like, oh, your nerves kind of really, yeah, this is a nerve issue. Maybe there was a tendon issue there as well. Not everything is cut and dried. Not everything is just the tendon, just the nerve. It's like so often it's a mishmash of different structures. But if they have radial tunnel syndrome, if you have surgery on the tendon, ain't going to make a jot of difference to your symptoms because your symptoms are coming from the nerve, not the tendon. So yeah, don't have surgery. Don't have surgery. It just creates a whole mess. Does tennis elbow heal on its own? No, it doesn't. It might feel like it does. Well, I had it years ago and it got better. And I liken this. Can you see the picture behind? It's a swing because it does this. The symptoms come and they go, and they come and they go, and they come and they go, and you feel like you're on a swing. And so the reason for that is you're getting symptomatic relief, but the tendon's not healed. If we did an imaging of the tendon would still look degenerated, wouldn't be healed. That's why you feel like it keeps coming back. It just never went away. It's just that you got really good at managing the symptoms, so you didn't feel it. And then something flared it up again. So once you've got it, that first time you ever feel tennis elbow, unless you rehab it correctly, and by that I mean eccentric loading, and for long enough and heavy enough, unless you do that, the tendon's not healed and it will come back. So no, it does not heal on its own. You can't just sit back and it will heal. It does not work that way with tendons. They have to be loaded in order to heal. Should you use ice or heat for tennis elbow? Great question. This is why I was looking at, okay, if you've had it for less than 3 weeks, we're probably looking at ice. We want to decrease inflammation. There is inflammation there at that point. We want to decrease inflammation. And ice is really good at doing that. Once you get past 3 weeks, the inflammatory cells in tennis elbow sharply drop off. So that means the inflammation resolves. This is part of a normal healing process. We expect this to happen. But you're still feeling it. So if the inflammation's gone, what are you feeling? You're feeling the degeneration. You're feeling the irritation. As that progresses, you're feeling central sensitization, nerve hypersensitivity. So you're feeling stuff. It's just not inflammation. So once we get past those first 3 weeks, we can start adding in heat, because heat is really good at increasing the circulation. Tendons don't have a good circulation. Tendon as a tissue just don't have a good circulation, just the way they're made. It's normal, but it means it really slows down the healing process, because tissues need blood flow, and the building blocks for the healing process come in the blood flow to heal. So when a tissue doesn't have a good blood flow, tendons don't have a good blood flow, they really struggle to heal. So we want to speed that up as much as possible. We want to help it out. So heat is really good at doing that. So heat to the tendon is going to help to increase the circulation to the tendon, kickstart the healing process. Heat to the muscles is going to decrease muscle tension. That stops pulling on the tendon, helps it to feel better. So generally, I say heat, 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 unless you've had it for less than 3 weeks, which we're going to ice. Now, there's also another caveat to that. If you feel like you've irritated it, say you went to like take the trash out, you were like, oh, what did I do to my elbow? You can then ice it for 3 days, reduce any inflammation that may have set up on top of the chronic stuff going on, and then switch back to your heat. So I hope that makes sense. What's the difference between tennis elbow and golfer's elbow? Tennis elbow is on the outside of the elbow. Golfer's elbow is on the inside of the elbow, but then they are essentially the same pathology. It's the tendon, degeneration, right next to a nerve, whole thing. So the principles of healing are exactly the same, just slightly different exercises because they're in different locations. Oh, so what questions do you have? Let me see. Coming up with Q&A. Okay, you can't access the chat. I'm sorry about that. Feel free to pop your questions in here. So you wonder if your recurring tennis elbow is because you grip your tennis racket too tight. It might be. Definitely gripping. That is one of the things that will irritate tennis elbow for sure. So it could be. We then have to look back at, well, why are you feeling like you have to grip your tennis racket too tight? And as we start to unravel that, it could be that there's a weakness around the shoulder, a weakness around the shoulder, a weakness in the rotator cuff, a weakness around the shoulder blade muscles even. Any of those could lead to a compensation of you gripping too tightly. So we would have to sort of unpick that, because we want to know, we want to know why is it happening, but then we also want to kind of like really dig deep for that cause so that we can correct the cause. But great question. What are the best exercises for your condition that I think is not carpal tunnel? Oh, I think, is that, was it radial tunnel then? Was it radial tunnel syndrome? So basically, if it's a nerve symptom, so there are three specific nerve syndromes that we look for. We look for carpal tunnel syndrome, we look for radial tunnel syndrome, and we look for cubital tunnel syndrome. So there are three main nerves that come out of the neck and all the way down to the tips of the fingers. All three can be affected by these syndromes, depending on which nerve it is and depending on where the symptoms are. Now, treatment for that would involve stretching out tight muscles that can be irritating those nerves, if that's what's causing it. It might be that the nerve itself is slightly short and that's what's causing the symptoms. It might be that it's functional, a little bit like carpal tunnel when people are typing and they start feeling the nerve symptoms. So even though we talk about it as a particular syndrome, it depends what's causing the symptoms as to how you would treat it. So it might be stretches, it might be strengthening exercises, it might be mobilizing the nerve, it might be working on the neck, it might be addressing weakness around the neck. So there's a multitude of factors that could be causing that, and it would depend on exactly what was causing the symptoms. I know that's a bit of a roundabout question, but you know, as a lot of the questions that I answer are kind of like, it depends because. Yeah, so 1 and 3 and 1, radial tunnel syndrome. Oh, there we go. Radial tunnel syndrome, what's the best approach to healing as far as exercises? So just went through that. What is eccentric loading? Great question. So when we work with weights, we can work in two ways. And so I don't have my weight with me. Okay, I'm going to imagine, right, my pencil is a weight. Imagine my pencil is a weight. So if I was doing bicep curls, up and down, I'm working my bicep muscle, right? When I bring the weight up this way, the muscle shortens. That is called concentric. So basically the muscle action is called concentric when the muscle shortens. When I lower the weight back down, the muscle is lengthening. That is eccentric. So what the research shows us is that concentric shortening irritates the tendon. Eccentric lengthening is what heals the tendon. So often when people say to me, oh, I was doing these exercises and I was moving the weight, I'm like, making it better, making it worse, making it better, making it worse. And so they don't get better because one of the actions is helping, one of the actions is making it worse. So they just don't get any better. So eccentric loading, that lengthening, is also sometimes referred to as negatives. For people who do weight training, they call them negatives. That is the part that helps to heal the tendon. Tendons like that negative load. Great question. Okay, so I'm at the stage of eccentric loading and doing the exercises from the book. Great. But the tendon area on the forearm seems to be persistently sore and possibly swollen. So the questions I would ask here. So did you bring the muscle tension down before you started eccentric loading? That's crucial. So again, and I'm going to go on to the phases in a second. We will sort of lead into that. So the way that I was helping people, I started to realize it was really sort of 4 different phases that I was taking people through. Phase 1 was really all about resolving symptoms, starting to get them to feel better, starting to calm the nervous system down. That's what phase 1 did. Phase 2, normalizing the muscle tension. So we have to normalize muscle tension before you can tolerate eccentric loading. If you start eccentric loading when your muscle tension is high, it's going to make you worse. So probably that's what's going on. That would be my guess, is that muscle tension is already high. And so then you are just making it higher when you do your eccentric loading, because whenever we pick up a weight, we're going to increase muscle tension. That's normal. That's how the muscles work. That's how it should be. But when you increase that muscle tension, if it's already up and if you are in pain, if you've got this tendon problem, muscle tension is likely up because your body is trying to protect itself. It sends those muscles into spasm, which actually makes it worse because it pulls on the tendon. But if the muscle tension is high and you start eccentric loading, you're taking the muscle tension even higher. It's going to make it feel worse. You got to bring the muscle tension down. So phase 1 and phase 2 strategies bring the muscle tension down so that you can tolerate phase 3. That's why it's phase 3, because you got to do all this stuff first to allow it to be comfortable to do phase 3. Now, if you've done all of that and it's still hurting, it might be that you are not doing it completely correctly. And this is quite common as you start to get used to doing it. When you're doing the eccentric loading, it is very important that you only do the eccentric portion. If you do any kind of concentric, if the muscles are helping you lift that weight back up, then you're going to irritate the tendon. So the way that you're doing the eccentric loading is crucial. The other thing about that is the position that you're in. If you are not in a good position when you're doing the eccentric loading, 100% you're going to irritate it. Most likely you're going to irritate the nervous system. This is what I see people do. If they irritate the nervous system, and then obviously the tendon can't heal because the nervous system is flipped into fight or flight. So it's crucial to bring that muscle tension down, ensure you're doing the watching your form, and then making sure you're in a really good position. So I hope that helps. And also making sure that you are doing the right exercise as well, the right exercise for the issue that you have. Okay, with heat 2 times a day, that's the only time I'm home. How long can I expect until you heal your radial tunnel syndrome? You've been suffering for over 5 years. So heat is an interesting one. So I used to say to people 2 to 3 times a day was enough. And then I had 2 clients completely independently of each other, because one was in the US and one was in the UK. And it was really weird because about the same time. They both heated way more than I told them to, and they both got better faster. I mean, it was like unbelievably obvious for both of them. One of them actually was having, well, the one in the US was actually having imaging as well. And it was just amazing to see that increase in circulation, because you could see that on the imaging. And it just brought home to me how important that heat is to increase the circulation to the tendon. So heat the heck out of it, heat as much as possible. So ideally, if you're at home, you're heating every hour through the day, 10 minutes every hour through the day. So if you're home first thing and last thing, maybe you can get 2 in before you go to work. Okay, maybe you can't, but maybe when you get home from work, maybe you can do 2 or 3 sessions. So really cramming it in. I have some people who will use their breaks. They will like literally go to the car and plug into the car, or have a battery powered one, or that type of thing. I have some people who will sit at work and have the heat wraps on. So heat is incredibly powerful to kickstart the healing process. Is heat itself going to heal it? No, but it prepares it really well to allow it to heal. If you've had it for over 5 years, there's definitely other stuff going on. My guess would be neck's involved, could also be shoulder involved. You have to address all of the elements. If you don't address all of the elements, it's almost like they flip-flop backwards and forwards. Like one bit might feel better, and then this will flare it up. And then you get that feeling better, and then this will flare it up. You've got to address the lot. You need to see exactly what is causing everything. So it can be quite complex. Again, I sort of started with tennis elbow. It's this tiny tendon. That's all it is. And it is. But once you've had it for a prolonged period of time, it's almost like this is the epicenter. That little bony area on the outside of your elbow is the epicenter. And over time, it can spread down your arm. Over time, it can spread up your arm. I was talking to a gentleman, and this was a few years ago now. He had tennis elbow, wasn't able to play, had tried about, I don't know, 8 or 9 different braces that didn't work. I think he tried injections, just, nothing was working. And I said, like, well, I can help you. Let's work together. And he was like, you're a bit expensive. Let me see how I go. So I contacted him probably about 6 months later. I was like, how are you getting on? And he was like, well, tennis elbow is the least of my problems now. He said, it has spread to my legs and I'm struggling to walk. And I'll never forget him, because I was like, God, I let him down big time. I should have. I clearly didn't explain it in a way that he understood. And I forever kind of kick myself about that. But he developed central sensitization. It affected the other tendons in his body. So it was affecting his patella tendons in his knees and his Achilles tendons really severely. So he wasn't even considering getting back playing tennis. He was focused on walking. And that's how severe central sensitization can be. Now, again, everything is a bell curve. He was a very severe end. And there'll be people that's a not severe at all end, and then there's most people in the middle. But central sensitization, you know, if you've had something over 3 months, the longer you have it, the more likely you are affected by central sensitization. And it is just crucial to bring that down, flip your body out of that fight or flight. But yeah, once we get into years, decades, I think the longest I've ever worked with somebody had this for 30 years and they got better. Do I always recommend heat prior to phase 3 eccentric exercise with weights? Great question. Actually, not always, Lynn. But if you want to, absolutely. If you want to really ensure that the muscle tension is down before you do the exercises, perfect. And I always liken it to, you know, just think about what athletes do. They warm up before the exercise. So if you can warm up before you do the exercises, perfect. Yeah, let's do that. For some people, I will also say eat afterwards, especially as they're getting heavier with the weights, to bring that muscle tension down. If they need to bring it down, heat afterwards can do that too. Neck and shoulder exercises for radial tunnel syndrome. So you'll find there are two neck exercises in the book. So tennis elbow relief 2.0. There's 2 neck exercises in the book. There's one kind of global shoulder exercise. It's a bit of a nerve mobilization shoulder exercise that's in there. But for radial tunnel, again, we'd have to dive deep and see exactly what was causing it. With regards to the neck most likely, and then this, you know, obviously this is most likely, we'll need some range of motion exercises. We'll need some strengthening and endurance exercises. Shoulder blades most likely need strengthening. Rotator cuff most likely needs strengthening. Possibly some range of motion also. Nerves, 100% will need nerve mobilizations. That might need to be global nerve mobilizations as well as radial nerve mobilizations. We'd have to look at how the radial nerve would tolerate those. But it very much would depend on the symptoms. So it really depends what's going on. I know that sounds like a bit of a fluffy answer, but it's not as cut and dried as, okay, this is the tendon, what heals it? Eccentric loading. That's what heals it. With the nerves are just more complex just by the nature of what they are. And they, you know, as I said before, the nerves can be being compressed by tight muscles, in which case, you know, you need to address that. Nerves can be tight themselves, in which case you need to address that. It can be different structures affecting it, in which case you need to address that. So there's kind of a multitude of reasons that you could be having those symptoms. So I hope that helps. All right. Moving on. So these are basically the phases that I started to realize I was taking everybody through. So phase 1, as I said, you know, reducing symptoms. Phase 2, normalizing muscle tension. Phase 3 is the strengthening. Phase 4, we get back to function. Then I also added in some advanced rotational exercises, specifically for my racket sports, my golfers, because they tended to need those additional advanced rotational exercises. So empowered relief is so important. This is the class that basically unlocks the healing for everything else. So empowered relief is a 2-hour class that I teach on Zoom. It is not elbow specific at all, but it is chronic pain, nervous system, hypersensitivity specific. And you learn 4 distinct treatments that you start that day that start calming the nervous system, flip you out of fight or flight into rest, digest, and heal so that the other treatments work. I'm teaching empowered relief on Monday of next week. So it's the 23rd of February, 12 p.m. Pacific. So the same time that we started this call. And it's a 2-hour class. If you would like to attend that, I would love for you to join me. You can find out more about Empowered Relief on my website, tenniselbowqueen.com/empowered relief. If you would like to sign up for that class, I would love to see you there. It's crucial, and it's part of the reason that I added it into my program, because I realized it was a missing piece for so many of my clients. The reason, and I love it as well, because it is so well researched. Stanford are continuing to do research on it. We meet, it's about once a quarter, to get updates on what they're doing within that program as well. So it's super, super good. So rest, braces, and injections do not work long term. These are not going to heal your tendon at all. You have to go through this process. And so I'm going to be sharing with you here how I help people. I'm going to be offering you the opportunity to join my next cohort, which is going to be a 12-week program. It starts with Empowered Relief on Monday. So if you join the cohort, Monday will be the first session, Empowered Relief. So I will take you through all of these different phases, and I'm going to be there to hold your hand every step of the way. So it's crucial to follow the steps in the right direction. Well, right direction, yeah, but the right order. It's so interesting when I work with my private clients. Every now and again, I'll like try and skip a step, or I'll try and like get somebody going faster, a little bit faster than maybe I have in the past. And it always bites me on the ass. You know, you have to follow these steps. And it became very obvious that there is a step-by-step process. So past participants have got back to playing golf in 6 weeks after 6 months of pain, got back to playing tennis after 9 weeks, nine months of pain, or 18 months of pain even. We've had pain resolve in 5 weeks after 5 years of pain. You know, I mentioned the guy who literally one exercise, boom, it had gone. You know, there was another guy who'd had 3 years of pain, like several injections, 2 treatments, you know, and he was better. So there's a lot of variation here, but know that it is resolvable. You know, if you've been struggling with this for years, that's not okay. This is fixable. This was a great client of mine. Just I love showcasing my clients. So, you know, it's just so nice when I hear that people don't have pain anymore. This was a great one. 5 weeks back on court. Oh, brilliant. And somebody had told him about me at a party, and I don't even know who that somebody was. But it was great when we made contact. That was really good. So here's the program outline. So this is what we're going to be going through. And the way the program is set up is there is an extensive video library that takes you through from start to finish. I'm sorry, my fire alarm's going off. I hope it's going off. No, it's a smoke alarm. Okay, so phase 1, we're going to reduce the symptoms, we normalize the nervous system, we get you set up for healing. Then we take you into phase 2, where we normalize the soft tissues. We're basically preparing you, getting you ready for phase 3, which is the strengthening. That's where we add in the eccentric loading. Phase 4, we're getting you back to doing everything you want to do. And then phase 5 are the advanced exercises. So there are videos for each of these phases. They open up week by week. So when you first join the program, phase 1 opens up. A week later, phase 2. A week later, phase 3. A week later, phase 4. And then a week later, the advanced exercises. So you get all of the information in 5 weeks. However, it doesn't take you that length of time to go through it, because there is a lot of information. So this is the 12-week success plan that we're going to be starting on Monday. So we start with Empowered Relief, and then we'll have a call about phase 1. So you need to have gone through the phase 1 videos and be ready with your phase 1 questions when we meet for that phase 1 Q&A. The week after, we do a phase Q&A, a phase 2 Q&A. A week after, phase 3. A week after, phase 4. So it gets you through the videos. This is me holding you accountable to get you through the information and get you implementing what you need to implement. Then we have a 3-week break to really just consolidate where you're at to be, you know, continuing doing what you're doing. Then there's another Empowered Relief class. If you want to attend again, you are more than welcome. If you can't attend Mondays, there's your chance. So there's another empowered relief class there. The week after that, we then focus on the advanced exercises. So you bring your questions about those. Then we do a review and progress check. And then there's another empowered relief for anybody who wasn't able to attend the other two. So these are the dates for the next cohort. So we're starting on Monday with empowered relief. And it's basically every Monday after that at 12 p.m. So it's same day, same time. If you can't make it, there will always be a replay and you can send your questions ahead of time. So March 30th is the first consolidation week. And then the first 2 weeks of April, you know, it's really, you're doing the work. You're putting this into action. And then April the 27th, we've got those advanced exercises Q&A. May 4th is a review and progress. And then May 11th would be the other empowered relief class. So the entire comprehensive elbow pain relief program, I think it's about 70 to 80 videos. I mean, there's a lot of information in here. This used to be called the tennis elbow relief program, and it was the tennis elbow exercises. But over time, I started to realize, actually, many of my clients have golfer's elbow as well. Many of my clients have carpal tunnel as well, or they have radial tunnel syndrome, or they have cubital tunnel syndrome, or they have rotator cuff weakness, or they have a neck issue, they have a nerve issue, they have shoulder impingement, they have a weak core. So all of these exercises are in there. When you're in this program, you are going to be working your core. You are going to be working your rotator cuff. You are going to be working your shoulder blade strengthening. We are going to work on endurance, as well as getting you back to function. We're going to work on your nerves. Everything is in here. And whenever I treat somebody and I add something new, it goes into this program. So what is involved or what is included? You get this complete video library. And it literally is about 8 hours of content. And so you really have to like listening to my voice because there's a lot of me talking. But it takes you through from start to finish with absolutely every variation in there too. You're going to get 6 group teaching or coaching sessions, these Q&A sessions. These are live on Zoom with me. So you get to bring your questions. I am here. I'm going to hold your hand through this. This is not just like, here are the videos. Good luck, off you go. I'm going to hold your hand through this. You get the empowered relief class. There is an app that goes with it that has part of the daily treatment work that you'll be doing for empowered relief. There's a private Facebook group. I go live in there every week. So again, you can bring your questions to that. I go live on a Friday. So you can have had a session with me on Zoom on a Monday. If there are questions, you bring them to the weekly live in the Facebook group on a Friday. You get that for the entire time as well. You're going to get 3 months membership to the Tennis Elbow Academy. This is on the school platform. There is exclusive content in there that you won't find anywhere else. So it's not included in the video library. It is purely academy content. So you get 3 months to the academy as well. There are workbooks, checklists, calendars to help you stay accountable, to help you stay on track, and to help you achieve success. You'll find these in the platform when you join. So all of this is $9,300 if you were to pay for all of these separately. Now, obviously, you're not going to be paying anywhere near that. So for today and the next week, the doors are open to this program. If you want to join and you want me to help you through healing your tennis elbow, it's just $1,997. And I'm just going to see if I can put the link in the chat. Oh, hang on. There we go. So I hope you can see that in the chat. I know somebody couldn't access the chat before. Let me know if you can. And I didn't want to do that. Hang on. There we go. Now, for the first 10 people who sign up as well, I'm going to do a bonus assessment session. So basically what this means is you and I will meet individually on Zoom, just the two of us, and I will take you through an assessment session. So I will look at your neck, your shoulders, how your shoulder blades move, your elbows, your wrists, and your hands. I will test you for tennis elbow, golfer's elbow. We'll look at your biceps and triceps tendons as well. So all of the tendons around the elbow. I'll test you for carpal tunnel syndrome, cubital tunnel syndrome, and radial tunnel syndrome. We'll also investigate the three main nerves that come out of the neck and all the way down to the tips of the fingers. So we'll get a very clear picture on exactly what is going on so that I can help customize your journey through the program also. So that's about an hour. And as I say, ideally, we want to get that done before Empowered Relief or sometime, either this week or next week, we'll get those done so that moving forwards, I can say to you, okay, in phase 1, you need to focus on this. In phase 2, you're going to focus on this. You don't need those in phase 2. In phase 3, you're going to look at these. You don't need that, but you definitely need this. So I can customize your journey through that healing process and through that program. But it is for the first 10 only. So if you want that, sign up first. So the doors are open. You can access the information at tenniselbowqueen.com/program. You can learn more about it there, and then you've got the option to sign up. So just to review, you get all of these things. You get that complete video library that takes you from start to finish. And no matter whether you've got carpal tunnel syndrome, radial tunnel syndrome, tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, biceps or triceps, it covers that. It covers shoulder impingement, weak core, it covers weak neck, it covers rotator cuff strengthening, it covers, basically anything and everything that is affecting your symptoms. So you get that complete video library that opens up for you immediately when you join. You get the 6 group teaching sessions with me. You get the Empowered Relief class. And as I say, there are 3 over the next 12 weeks because I do 1 a month. If you want to attend all 3, you absolutely can attend all 3. I'm still learning stuff each time I attend it because it's just so jam-packed. It's such a good program. You get the private Facebook group. You get 3 months membership to the Tennis Elbow Academy. You get all the workbooks, checklists, PDFs, everything that you need. And it's just $19.97 for that entire program. If you want to break it up and you want a payment plan, you absolutely can do that as well. And so it's 3 monthly payments of $747. You'll see that when you go to tenniselbowqueen.com/program, you'll see that there is an option there for the monthly payments. So just whichever works best for you, click on that. I'll be able to see the first 10 people who sign up. And obviously, I'll reach out to you and we will get your assessment sessions scheduled as well. This is what it's going to look at when you hit the checkout. So when you go into checkout, obviously this is the one for the payment plan. You just add your details in there. And as soon as you hit that complete your purchase, you'll get an email guiding you through setting up your login so that you can access the video library, and those videos are open to you immediately so you can get started straight away. This is what it looks like when you do get into the video library, and you will see you just start working your way through all of the sessions. There are downloads that are attached to this as well, so you can download, you can watch it, everything's transcribed, there's captions. So yeah, however you learn best, there's an option for it. So this was my client, Dory. She'd had tennis elbow for 18 months and she had been told that she needed surgery. She did not accept that. She knew there had to be a different way. And when we started working together, she was quite cautious in working together. She actually spoke to a couple of my previous clients as well before signing up, because she was like, is it right? Is it not? And then it was like 10 weeks of the program. She was back playing tennis. This is her with her tennis buddies. So she was great fun to work with. This was another client who had both elbows, both wrists, nothing had helped. And 2 months in, so 8 weeks in, feeling back to normal and just doing really, really well. So no, it can happen fast, you know, even if you've had it for a long time, when you start doing the right things, it just makes such a difference. There is a money back guarantee as well. So if you join, you've got 14 days to test everything out, go through the material, you know, everything that's in there. If you then at 14 days decide, hey, this is not for me, just let me know and I'll just give you a full refund. No questions asked. It's not like I'm going to say to you, well, show me that you've done the work. If you don't feel it's right for you, no worries. Just let me know. You get your money back. No problem. It's completely fine. But I would love for you to test it out, because I know that once you start going through this, when you start realizing how intense or how complex this can be, but this is a simple step-by-step solution to your problem that you've suffered with for such a long time. You know, I've never had to refund anybody's money. So I offer this, you know, with full confidence. If you have an issue, as I say, within that first 14 days, and this is so phase 1 will open up for you, phase 2 will open up for you. You'll get all those videos. There's about 30 to 35, maybe even 40 videos. You get access to all of that. If you suddenly go, hey, I cannot listen to her one more minute, just let me know and I'll refund you money. No problem at all. All right, what questions do you have about this? Let me see if I go back to the Q&A. Let me see. Does the Empowered Relief class address the nervous system? Absolutely. That's exactly what it addresses. So the Empowered Relief class, as I say, it's not elbow specific, it is nervous system specific. So that's why it's included in the program, because the people who need the program have been suffering for a long time. That's why they need all the stuff. So that's why Empowered Relief is in there. It unlocks the healing, and it's so powerful. It's amazing to see the difference when people are doing that, and then the treatments actually work really well for them. It's phenomenal. Okay, so you have a super busy, unpredictable schedule. You'd love to do the Empowered Relief class, but afraid you won't be able to keep up. So Empowered Relief, as I say, it's on Monday at the same time as we started. So it's 12 p.m. Pacific. It's for about 2 hours. It's not recorded. That's a really good point, actually. It's the only thing that's not recorded. And the reason for that is Stanford doesn't let us record it. And the reason for that is they have spent a decade researching how this works when people attend the class live, and they have all of this information on how it works when people attend the class live. What they don't know is how it works when people watch a replay. And so because they've not done the research and they don't know if it'll work, they don't let us do it, which actually I really like. So you have to attend live. Treat it like a hospital appointment. If you were going to come and see me at the hospital, treat it like that. You know, it's an important appointment. It's an appointment that's going to unlock your healing and allow you to recover, you know, from the issues that you have. Now, I know Monday is a little bit of short notice, which is why there are the other ones in there. So let me look at in fact, can I bring it back? Let me bring it back to the dates. Let me see if I can bring back the dates of the second ones. So Empowered Relief is on February the 23rd. And then Empowered Relief is on April the 20th. So if that's a better option for you, you know, pencil it into your calendar right now, or even May 11th, if that's a better option for you. Please pencil that in. That's completely fine. So the fee for attending the Empowered Relief class is $97. So if you just wanted to do the Empowered Relief class, you absolutely can sign up for that. Again, you can go to my website, tenniselbowqueen.com/empowered relief. and you'll see the information about empowered relief. You'll see the sign up button just for that class. So when you sign up for empowered relief, you can attend any session. So obviously, if you want to attend Monday, that's the ideal because we get going as soon as possible. If you can't do Monday for whatever reason, and I get it, it's late notice, please feel free to join April the 20th. Great questions. All right, where are we up to? Okay, we are up to our final slide, the bonus tip to decrease inflammation. So even though I know I said earlier that the first 3 weeks of tennis elbow, the inflammatory cells in the tendon drop dramatically. They absolutely do, which is why anti-inflammatories don't really work, which is why the ice doesn't really work much after that, unless you have an acute issue on top of the chronic, which we talked about, ice for 3 days and then back to the heat. However, when we're looking at low-level systemic chronic inflammation. So what do I mean by that? Low-level systemic total body. We're not just talking tendon now. We're talking total body, systemic chronic inflammation, like long-term inflammation. So I'm going to share with you a research study that was done relatively recently. It's fascinating. So this study took a group of healthy individuals. This is nothing to do with tennis elbow. They had no pathology. Nothing was going on. Healthy individuals. And what they did blood tests on them. Then they got them to sit for 4 hours, and then they repeated the blood tests again. So blood tests, sit for 4 hours, blood tests. Healthy individuals, no pathologies. What they saw, inflammatory markers in their blood went up over 4 hours. So just sitting for 4 hours, inflammation in our body goes up. Now, when inflammation in our body goes up, remember I said before, when we flip into fight or flight, we get the stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, inflammatory markers. When we sit for 4 hours, they're going up. Inflammatory markers are going up. And so that's flipping us into fight or flight, which is why we're talking about it. So we don't want that. So sitting for 4 hours will increase inflammation, inflammatory markers in your blood. Think about sitting on a plane, sitting in a car, sitting in the movies, sitting in the theater, sitting at work, sitting watching Netflix. 4 hours is not that long, and inflammation is going up in your body. So the researchers took that same group of people, healthy individuals, did the blood tests at the beginning, sat them for 4 hours, did the blood test at the end. However, at the top of every hour, what they got them to do was a 3-minute movement break. So they got them up out of their chair and they moved them for 3 minutes. It might have been squats, it might have been jumping jacks. So I say to my clients, so I work from home, I go and put a load of laundry on. I go and make a cup of tea, breath break, whatever it is. 3-minute movement break every hour. And what they saw when they took that group of healthy individuals, bloods at the beginning, bloods at the end, sat them for 4 hours, 3-minute movement breaks every hour, inflammatory markers in their blood went down. So they decrease this systemic inflammation. So this is a simple tip that has been proven. You can decrease the inflammatory markers in your blood with 3-minute movement breaks. So we are just past the hour right now. So we all need to get up and have a 3-minute movement break. So I'm just going to check if there are any other questions. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. How many days is just the Empowered Relief class? It's 1 2-hour class. So literally, if you attend on Monday for 2 hours, you've got all the information. So yes, you absolutely can do that. I would love, love, love to help you guys recover from the suffering that you are going through. Please feel free to, check out the website. Hang on. There we go. tenniselbowqueen.com/program. You'll get all the information about the 12-week program. tenniselbowqueen.com/empowered relief. You'll get all the information about the Empowered Relief class. Choose whichever option you feel is best for you. But moving forward, no, everything needs addressing. Everything needs addressing. And if it's not, that's why you're going to struggle to heal. And that's why people suffer for years and years and years, decades and decades, because they've just not done the right thing at the right time. Don't let that be you. Move forwards. Let's heal this. So I hope to see you in the program. First 10 signups are going to get those individual assessment sessions with me. And I hope to see you in Empowered Relief on Monday. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can always email me. You're getting emails from me. Just reply back to any of those emails and I will get them. And I hope to see you soon for your assessment session. Have an amazing rest of day. And thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye.